Baker Mayfield just declared open warfare on the Atlanta Falcons, and honestly, I have never been more ready for a season to start in my entire life. The ink isn't even dry on Kevin Stefanski's contract, and his former quarterback is already throwing grenades from across the division. It is 2026, folks, but apparently the bad blood from Cleveland is going to boil over right here in the NFC South. Welcome back to the channel, the heartbeat of the Dirty Birds fan base. If you want to see us silence the doubters and shut down the noise coming from Tampa Bay, you know what to do. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on those notifications because we are going to war this year. Let's get real about what just happened. If you thought the NFC South was going to be a friendly handshake tour this year, you were dead wrong. A massive controversy just erupted, and it all started with a single report from Orlando Ledbetter. He put it out there plain and simple. Kevin Stefanski's time in Cleveland ended because the quarterback room was a disaster. He called it a dumpster fire, citing the failure of both Deshaun Watson and, yes, Baker Mayfield. Now, usually, players ignore the noise. They take the high road. But not Baker. Never Baker. Baker saw that word, failed, and he snapped. He jumped on social media and quote-tweeted it with the kind of bitterness you usually only see in a bad breakup. He said, and I quote, "Failed is quite the reach, pal." But he didn't stop there. He got personal. He complained that he is still waiting on a text or a phone call from Stefanski after he was shipped off like a piece of garbage. And then, the threat. The line that should be printed on every bulletin board in Flowery Branch. "Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach." Here is a question I need you to ask yourself. Is there a player in the NFL who holds a grudge tighter than Baker Mayfield? This guy feeds on conflict. It is the oxygen he breathes. We saw it at Oklahoma when he was grabbing his crotch at Kansas players. We saw it when he was fighting with radio hosts like Colin Cowherd. And now, he is trying to drag our new head coach into the mud. He wants to make this personal. He wants the Falcons vs. Buccaneers games to be about him and his feelings. But let's actually look at the history, shall we? Because Baker is acting like Stefanski was the villain who ruined his career. I've got a reality check from Mr. Mayfield. The best football you ever played in your life was under Kevin Stefanski. Period. Before Stefanski got to Cleveland, that franchise was a joke. When Stefanski arrived in 2020, what happened? They went 11-5. They went to Pittsburgh, in the playoffs, and blew the doors off the Steelers. Baker threw 3 touchdowns that day. He looked like a superstar. In their time together, Baker had a winning record, 43 touchdowns, and he looked like the franchise guy. So, where is this victim mentality coming from? He says he was shipped off like garbage. No, Baker, you were traded because the organization decided to go in a different direction after a toxic season where everyone was to blame. You blamed Stefanski. What about when you threw the training staff under the bus? What about when Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad was posting videos because you couldn't hit an open receiver? The collapse in Cleveland was a total system failure, ownership, GM, injuries, and yes, the quarterback play. To sit there in Tampa, years later, and act like Kevin Stefanski is the sole reason you had a bad year is delusional. But you know what? I love it. I absolutely love it. The NFL has been too soft lately. I want hatred in the division. I want the games against the Bucs to feel like a street fight. If Baker wants to use his imaginary failure as motivation, fine. But Kevin Stefanski is the adult here. He isn't going to engage in a Twitter war. He is going to engage in game planning. He is going to build a defense designed to put Baker on his back. Baker can tweet all he wants. We will settle this on the grass. This brings me to the question of the day, and I want to see the comments section absolutely explode on this one. With Baker Mayfield explicitly calling out our coach and circling our games on the calendar, who do you think wins the season series in 2026? Are we sweeping the suckiness? Or does Baker's extra motivation worry you? Let me know your prediction below, swept or split. Sound off. Now, while Baker is busy living in the past, the Atlanta Falcons are very focused on the future. We have a head coach, but we need the other half of the power couple. We need a general manager. And the latest intel from Mark Raimondi suggests this search is moving at lightning speed. We have 3 heavy hitters coming in for interviews, and honestly, the quality of these candidates is staggering. This isn't just about picking a name, it's about picking the philosophy that will define the next decade of Falcons football. Let's look at the first contender, Ian Cunningham. If you want a guy who knows what a championship trophy looks like, this is your guy. He's currently the assistant GM for the Chicago Bears, but his pedigree is ridiculous. He has 2 Super Bowl rings. He earned 1 scouting for the Ravens, an organization that drafts better than almost anyone. He earned the second one with the Philadelphia Eagles, helping build that juggernaut roster. He has worked alongside Ryan Poles in Chicago, turning that team from a laughingstock into a legitimate threat. Cunningham is my personal favorite because he has seen winning in 3 different cities. He understands the culture. He knows that you build through the trenches, and he has the hardware to prove his methods work. But then you look at option number 2, James Liipfert. If Cunningham is the culture guy, Liipfert is the talent sniper. He is the assistant GM for the Houston Texans. Think about what Houston did. In 2 years, they went from being the worst team in football to a powerhouse. How? By drafting absolute studs. Liipfert was a huge part of the team that identified C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, Will Anderson Jr., and Kamari Lassiter. He is a former Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket, so he knows the lay of the land here in Atlanta. If you want a GM who is going to walk into the draft room and pick 3 instant Pro Bowlers, Liipfert might be the magician we need. His track record for identifying blue chip talent is undeniably hot right now. And finally, we have Josh Williams from the San Francisco 49ers. You can never, ever go wrong hiring from the 49ers. They have the deepest, most physical roster in the NFL. Williams has been learning under John Lynch, watching how they find stars in the 5th and 6th rounds. The 49ers don't just rely on first-round picks. They build a machine that works no matter who gets injured. If Williams can bring that San Francisco blueprint to Atlanta, that toughness, that physicality, we would be in an amazing spot. Here is the timeline you need to know. This is not going to drag out. Kevin Stefanski is scheduled to be introduced to the Atlanta media on Tuesday. Arthur Blank and the ownership group have been very clear. They want the GM and the head coach to be a united front. They want them hired together, introduced together, and working together from day one. That means we are likely going to get a breaking news notification as early as Friday, or maybe Monday morning at the latest. We are closing the book on the era of mediocrity. We are done with losing seasons. We are done with, almost, winning. We have a coach who has won Coach of the Year multiple times. We are about to hire a GM from a championship pedigree. And we have a rival quarterback in Tampa Bay who is terrified of what we are building. The pieces are coming together, Falcons fans. The script is being flipped. I need to know from you guys before we get out of here, of those 3 GM names, Cunningham, Liipfert, or Williams, who do you trust with the keys to the franchise? I'm leaning Cunningham, but Liipfert's draft history is tempting. Let me know your pick in the comments. I'll be back the second the news breaks. Until then, keep your head on a swivel, stay passionate, and as always, rise up.